king beneath the mountains, a king of carven stone. The lord of silver fountains shall come into his own. His crown shall be upholden, his harp shall be restrung, his halls shall echo golden, to songs of yore resung. The woods shall wave on mountains, in grass beneath the sun. His wealth shall flow in fountains, and the rivers golden run. The streams shall run in gladness, the lake shall shine and burn. All sorrow fail and sadness, let the mountain kings return.
Are we real? Is the world that we live in real? What is it that makes something real? We have all asked ourselves these questions, and we have heard the popular theories about a so-called simulated universe. But it's preposterous, of course. There is simply no precedent. NPCs and characters in video games are too simple. A computer could never in 10,000 years simulate the complexities of human emotion in response to their environment and the intricate social webs that make up our perceived reality. Or could it? For this video we will delve deep into the depths of Slaves to Armok, God of Blood, Chapter 2, or as it is also known, Dwarf Fortress. For me, this is a challenging video. How do I begin to delve into the philosophy of a game that generates its own world? A game that doesn't just generate random songs, it generates random poetic styles, instruments, word schemes, rhyme patterns, and tempos, as well as historical events for the bards to sing about. When all of these things are compiled, the game is not just generating a random song. It creates a unique piece of a specific culture, of a specific history. So let me first say what I am not here to talk about. I am not here to talk about the difficult to learn, difficult to master user interface. I am not here to talk about the bugs and glitches in this alpha software that will inevitably end my fortress before its time. I'm here to talk about the stories, cultures, and emotions generated in this mystical landscape. Welcome ye now to the everlasting infinite dimensions. It is here that 7 dwarves from the House of the Hazy Diamond set out into the temperate plains near a region called Dimpled Hill. 7 stout creatures, fond of drink and industry, set out to find their fortune and found a new fortress for their civilization. They have arrived after a long journey from the mountain homes into the forbidding wilderness beyond. Their harsh trek has finally ended here in this now frozen savanna. They have almost no supplies left, but with stout labor comes sustenance. Their leader is Mistim Visengirder, and he is armed only with a checklist of needed construction and a dream of a new home. Dastogridtur, or in the human tongue, Sword Grasp. For now, his top concern is shelter, and he commands his dwarves to strike the earth. It is the year 550 in the Age of Legends. the spring thaw has brought life back to the landscape. The icy river has melted, and wild horses have returned to graze on the foliage surrounding the fortress of Swordgrasp. Trees are being felled for their lumber, and the miners are carving out chambers and passageways to house farm plots, workshops, and stockpiles, so the dwarves can provide for themselves and be ready for any trade caravans that may pass by Dimpled Hill. Right now, their top priorities are security and a supply of water for the winter. The most logical answer to both is a moat, to deter any invading forces, and so that the dwarves can drink water during the winter freeze if their alcohol supply runs out. For now, housing will have to consist of a dormitory with a few tables and chairs set off to one end, connected to a food preparation area reserved for dining. Once proper rooms are built, this area will be converted into a tavern for visiting guests. Winter was a complete success, except for the part where everyone almost starved to death. Everything went very smoothly. The mid-fall freeze caught us by surprise, and we were not able to store any water. But we were able to complete just about all of our aquatic mega project, and didn't suffer any casualties. In fact, quite the opposite. Thanks to migrant dwarves, our numbers have nearly septupled. Finally, after nearly a year of construction during the spring thaw, the moat, or rather, death pit, was ready to fill with water. This would mean delaying construction of the underground waterfall and river, but aesthetics would have to stand aside while utility took the wheel. As we headed into high summer, I realized I hadn't seen any traders since earlier last year. I wonder if we will ever see them again. They were goblin traders after all. Next time, I think I will seize all their goods and throw them into the murder hole. The goblins came again, although now I'm having second thoughts. As a dwarf, I want to kill the goblins. But as a player, I want to know why goblins are peacefully trading with me and going so far as to claim that they are the liaisons from the mountain homes. This is going to force me to do something that I haven't done for a long time. Take a break from playing Dwarf Fortress. After several hours, and an entire rotisserie chicken had passed, I sat down and began to inspect the history of my motherland, the dwarven civilization of the Hazy Diamond. And for the love of the Lord, if you are a child, or expecting a child, please leave the room now. Upon looking deeper into their history, I found that the Hazy Diamond has one of the most accursed royal linkages in all of the everlasting infinite dimensions. In the first year, Lore Inked Plunges became king of the Hazy Diamond, and founded the fortress of Tangled Ore. Not even a year later, Lore was abducted by Sedme the Night Hag, a feathered beast with a bloated body. Later that year, Sedme gave birth to Chish Nightash, Lore Inked Plunge's daughter. Remember this for later. The next king, Stutkos Elbowcraft, was killed in a goblin raid in the year 11. The monarch after him, Queen Sibrek Groupbridges, was killed by a bronze colossi. After that, Queen Melbin Wallportal rules for a full decade until being turned into a wicked man, A large eyeless humanoid. It has two long tails hanging down and strides in silence with purpose. Its slate gray skin is wrinkled. You now know why you fear the night. King Xanag Craftswealth then rules for only 1 year before being killed by none other than Chish Nightash, the night hag daughter of the first king, Lore Inkplunges. The next 3 rulers are all killed in goblin raids. Then comes Bomric Daggerdash, who, after a short rule, was abducted and turned into a midnight horror. A large, eyeless humanoid with 2 stubby horns and clear, leathery skin. Then comes a golden age for the Hazy Diamond. For 480 years there were no wars, and every monarch died of old age. Except during all of that time, something was happening. You may have noticed that none of the dwarven monarchs are related. That is because dwarven rulers are randomly elected amongst a given fortress's population. Remember this for later. As of the year 551 of the 80 fortresses founded by the Hazy Diamond, 6 of them have been taken over by goblins, and not by direct attack either, but with subterfuge. En masse, the goblins have been disguising themselves as dwarves and forming false friendships for the sake of extracting information. And the city of Tangledor, the capital of the Hazy Diamond, has been completely infiltrated by goblins to the point where they outnumber the dwarves, many of them spies for enemy nations. Which leads us to our most recent, currently ruling, and longest living monarch, Queen Zon Crafted Stable, the Goblin. On top of this, 3 wars broke out last year, 2 with goblins and 1 with elves. All of this is foul news indeed if I'm going to lead a crusade against my own goblin-tainted government during this troubled times for the Hazy Diamond. Thank yourself for joining us thus far on our journey into Dwarf Fortress. I would like to take a moment to give a shout out to Clamave de Profundis for recording their version of The King Beneath the Mountain by J.R.R. Tolkien. They have an awesome lineup of videos that you should check out if you have a chance. I hope this visual spectacle has been as enjoyable to watch as it has been difficult to make.